Okay, we're filming. Hi, my name's Rivkah. This is my partner, Eduardo. And we are making this video, which I hope is going to be a series of videos. And we're going to be talking about how chronic illness and disability and terminal illness affects us and our relationship. I am chronically ill and disabled, and I am terminally ill. But not by American standards, which we'll get into later. But the reason we're here is because, or the reason we're making this video is because I don't feel like people talk enough about the feelings that come with living with someone who has a chronic illness. Or I apologize for the background noise, we live in a loft. I will try my hardest to edit things out and what have you, but I don't feel like there's enough information or knowledge or resources or faces or conversation about chronic illness and disability and terminal illness and how that affects the relationships that you have with the people in your life, and also how that affects, on the flip side, how the people in your life are affected by it. And so this video series is essentially going to be Eduardo and I asking each other questions and about our feelings around chronic illness, my chronic illnesses, and being terminally ill and disabled. We are also going to be taking questions from you, but in the comment section, but we reserve the right to not answer something if it's too personal or it's too close to home, but we are open to pretty much every question. That being said, we do reserve discretionary approval of the question. So the when I said earlier that I wasn't terminally ill by American standards or American perception. Yeah, thank you. I mean that, like, when people think of someone who's terminally ill, what do you think of? Most people think of someone without hair, who has gone through chemo, who has cancer, or a child born with a genetic abnormality, which a lot of my stuff is genetic, but we don't really think about other ways that people can be terminally ill and disabled, for that matter. And chronic illness is often deeper than the skin. A lot of chronically ill people and a lot of disabled people look healthy and look normal. And without knowing that person, you wouldn't know what they're going through. They could be having astronomical chronic pain, or their heart could be shutting down, or in my case, my organs can be starting to shut down one by one. My stomach is paralyzed. I have uh, issues with my colon. My lungs are affected. It's anticipated that the collapse of my cardiovascular system, or the system of your body that includes your heart, will be what kills me. My doctors anticipate the average life expectancy for me to be about 45 years old. I am 34. I'll be 35 next year when 2020 is over, thank God. But everything that I have is so rare that they don't know. I could live until I am 70. I highly doubt that, but I could also die while making this video. They just don't know. But they do know that the likelihood of my living a long, healthy life is pretty small. That being said, when I talk about how sick I am, I just want to kind of give you an idea of what I'm going through. This is a list of all of my diagnoses. It's more than a page long. A lot of them are genetic. My primary diagnoses are Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and posterior orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, or POTS, which is also called dysautonomia. And my other primary diagnosis is gastroparesis, and we suspect that I have another diagnosis that is common with Ehlers-Danlos called mast cell activation syndrome, which makes me immunocompromised, which makes this period of our existence as a world a bit scary, because if my immune system is compromised, a pandemic can be kind of scary to deal with, but we're taking precautions and we're being safe. A little more background about myself and my illnesses. I had to stop working because I became too sick to continue working late 2017. I've worked in healthcare most of my adult life, and education, teaching in a healthcare environment, nonprofit work, but I had to quit in 2017 or retire, and I've been on disability since fall of last year. And there's I take like 30 or more medications a day, and just keeping track of all of my medications and my doctor's appointments and my symptoms and what my doctors are recommending, and keeping in communication with everybody and stuff like that. It's a full-time job, and it keeps me busy throughout the day, and that sucks, because I'd rather be a normal person, and normal is relative, but I would never envision this being my job or life. But we adapt as our life changes and as our circumstances change. Let's see. This is my first time making a YouTube video, so I apologize if there are a lot of ums or stutters or looking at my notes. That being said, we're going to move into, before we move into answering some questions that I came up with for Eduardo and I, I'm going to give you a little background about Eduardo and myself. We met a year and a half ago, and we moved in together at the very beginning of this year, January 1st, actually. And we weren't planning on moving in together until March, but something told me that we needed to do it. Like, if we didn't do it now, back then, now, something would get in the way or something. And I'm glad we did, because the pandemic hit the fan around March. So, but we have been, I think we have a very strong relationship. We're very open and communicative with each other, and we both love each other very, very much. And our relationship is not different, but
unique.
Yes. We rely on each other a lot more than I think a typical relationship does, romantic relationship does, both physically and emotionally. And I think that has helped make us be stronger.
It has. For example, the average relationship doesn't tend to factor in end-of-life care into being, a factor for a day-to-day life for most couples. And that has definitely strengthened the bond very much.
Okay. We are back after that little coffee break. I'm going to take a drink.
No worries.
So, when did you honestly know you were in love with me?
It's hard to tell. It's a couple weeks after we had met.
Yeah.
Just continued time we'd spent just chatting away with each other and spending time together.
Yeah.
I much enjoyed just cuddling with you.
That is my favorite part. Let's see. And also, don't forget, you can ask me questions too. What is the hardest thing about living with someone who is chronically ill or disabled or dying, or all three?
The hardest things about that is knowing that I'll be the primary caretaker within the relationship, knowing that as far as anything physical or laborious is concerned, I handle most of them, since you're essentially it's not like my ward or my charge. So it's we're a partnership. I'm still having to carry extra weight to be sure that you're okay. Yeah. Knowing that as you deteriorate, you're not able to do as much. You have to be more proactive to be sure that you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you got your orthopedic shoes on and all of that. Make sure you're using your...
Which I may or may not have.
Which you're not even wearing right now.
Oopsie. What's the hardest thing about being in a relationship knowing that the person you love is dying?
The hardest part was...
Or watching your loved one slowly die.
I guess is knowing that the end state would be conditions that'll be outside of my control. I know at one time you were talking about us getting admitted into a home if things become too bad, if we become too incontinent. The idea of us saying having to be separated, us saying goodbyes before you actually pass, so that it can actually be around you when you do pass. That thought has been really soul crushing for me to think of.
For me too, like and I think this is unique to the situation that where the world is in right now, in the sense that it's a very real fear for me to think about being separated from you out of necessity, and not getting to spend my last amount of time with you. That's a very big fear of mine, because in where we live, visitors aren't allowed in the hospitals and aren't allowed in the nursing homes right now because of the pandemic, and so people are dying alone, and that scares me. I don't want that to happen. What memory of us makes you happiest?
Or down to a single memory.
It doesn't have to be just one.
Let's say any given one of our date nights pre-pandemic, and we would go out to like Johnny's and nice places like that just for a simple night out.
Yeah. I've always wanted to go to this person I know owns I think I told you this, owns a jazz and wine bar, and I've always wanted to go there with you, and I hope that we can before when the pandemic, when it becomes safe to actually go places. I'm looking forward to a date there together, because I think it would be. It looks like a cool atmosphere in the sun, and I've always had all of my other friends that go there have always said good things. What frustrates you the most about all of this?
I guess the given time that we're in right now, the fact, as you did mention, that you're immunocompromised, we're in a pandemic, so we're forced to, both of us spend a lot of time indoors, primarily for your well-being.
What about if there weren't a pandemic? What
It'd still be
what's the most frustrating thing?
It'd still be the cost of living, trying to make things meet, between both our incomes. Really, taking care of your lack of your deteriorating mobility. It's that kind of wanting to do the things that we used to do and like to do, but having to take them at a slower pace. Because it's knowing that that's happening, but not wanting to accept it because the time that we are spending together is so good. And then I guess it's the biggest frustration. It's bittersweet because it's frustrating for a good way, for a good reason.
Yeah.
Because it's taking into account great things.
Right. I think you touched on, or you did touch on what I think is most frustrating for me is that it's so freaking expensive to be chronically ill, let alone disabled, and like, especially if you're trying to survive on just disability income, or it's like it just. I worry about our finances every day, and that's like the most frustrating thing is the finance part of it. Because if practically speaking, if you and I weren't together, I would probably be homeless. And because disability income in our country is so minimal, and the cost of being disabled and chronically ill and terminally ill is so expensive that the cost outweighs the income, and that is probably my biggest frustration. I want to go back to the question before this, the memory question. What memory makes you happiest? For me, my favorite memory is, we had just talked about this last night, I think it was, Beyonce.
Oh.
So, as we record these videos, you'll probably meet our fur children. We have a dog, Chiquita.
Oh, she's gotten herself in the
Oh, I'm sorry, baby girl. I'm so sorry. This is Chiquita. She will be 15 in March. But we have a cat named Cannoli, and we have another cat named Oliver, or Ollie. And his real name is Ollivander, but he never goes by that. But we have nicknames for all the animals, and there's like 17,000 of them. But one of Cannoli's nicknames is Noli, and my brain is weird. And like, for some reason, my brain, when I started calling Cannoli Noli, my brain went from Noli to Knowles to Beyonce Knowles, and so I started calling. So I was driving you to work one morning, and we were at the stoplight, and I was like, I don't even remember how it went down.
I got a new nickname for
Noli. Yes, that's right.
For Beyonce.
That's right. And then that's right.
And I clicked it immediately because I think the night before you shortened her name down to Knowles, Cannoli, Knowles.
Oh.
And I thought immediately Knowles and Beyonce. Like, Knowles,
Beyonce Knowles.
Oh, because she's a diva. She's a little diva cat.
She is very much a diva cat.
I spoiled her. I spoiled everybody in my life.
He does. He spoils all four of us. But I think, like, just the fact that we were on the same wavelength, or like, it was like you read my mind, and like that was probably when I knew that you were like the one, and B, that was probably my happiest memory. Let's see. What gives you hope?
Gives me hope is really the good times that we have, good days. We
Sometimes people think it's painful. Oh gosh. Marie. Akita Marie. Okay. Let's get back on track here. What keeps your love strong? What keeps our relationship strong?
I'd say this right here. Just
Chiquita. Chiquita Marie, keeping it strong. Yeah.
she is a glue. The fur babies are a glue.
They are.
Just experiences we have with each other just all the time. They help greatly as well.
Oh my.
What helps keep the strong is just how much love there is here in this apartment.
Yeah. Don't let her bump your face. They are.
She's the star of the show.
Well, I know Chiquita is the star of the show, but whatever. I think what keeps our love strong is like trial by fire, kind of like we like had. I mean, it's just been.
There have been great strides to make after another.
Well,
it's like when we first started like moving in, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just that was a lot of hard manual. Yeah, for me, and of course I kept that as much of that away from you as possible.
Yeah, and for me too.
It's like we were just finishing up on New Year's because of how hard it is for me to get time off.
Yeah.
Like I was using my vacation time. Actually, without inadvertently wound up being a lot of that time that we started moving together. Mm-hmm. And during the whole time, I thought, what the heck? Why are we doing all this right now? Well, I mean, with great fortune, Lord willing.
Perfect timing.
It was January this year. We finished everything and we started getting the paperwork put together, and then just 2 months later, a pandemic happened.
Yeah. And I think that stuff like that has strengthened our relationship or keeps our relationship strong. As weird as that sounds, all of the near misses that we've had with my health, has strengthened us together, I think. Yeah, and in any relationship, there's peaks and valleys. No relationship is gonna be strong 100% of the time, and there are times where I want to push you out the window, and I'm sure there are times where you want to do the same to me. But it just, I feel like as time goes on, we get stronger together, and we certainly do have our moments, but I feel like we're getting stronger as time goes on, and as we experience things. So let's see. Sorry, I'm a little teary-eyed now, so I'm going to start everything. Okay. Have you... Oh, yeah. Have you thought about life after I die?
I have.
What? Do you feel comfortable sharing some of that?
Your final will and testament, just getting all that executed.
Yeah.
That'll be a process. And I've trained for it, but still not seriously looking forward to getting one executed in any kind of non-professional environment. I guess looking after the fur babies after how they'll deal with it.
I'd like to hope that after I die, the people in the communities that I'm a part of and I identify with will rally around you and help take care of you and make sure that everything that needs done or you would need help with or anything like that, or just being present for you. I would hope that happens for you after I'm gone. That people in the Jewish community or the LGBT community or any of the communities I identify with would help take care of you. And that's also a hope of mine. as well. Was your family concerned when you started dating me? Knowing that I am as sick as I am?
We've spoken very little on the matter, really. They had only just expressed happiness that I was just with someone at all. They never really expressed any concern around that.
I'm glad that they're happy for you, that you're happy. Chiquita. You are so spoiled. I can't even. She really is the star of the show, apparently. What's your favorite outfit of mine?
Outfits. The purple sweater that you got. Yeah, that one was a good.
I don't have a purple sweater, do I?
Sure do you, but you have a purple top.
Oh, well.
You have a purple top and matching leggings. You haven't worn them in so long because it hasn't been cool enough out for you to need to wear it.
I'm gonna have to look for this. Okay. I like you in these solid t-shirts because they show off your chest hair. And I like the yeah. I like all the jeans you have, actually. Mostly because I weeded through them and got rid of the ones that I didn't like, that didn't fit anymore, or whatever.
Old,
yes,
dilapidated ones
exactly.
With holes and stuff.
Exactly.
Holes and junk.
Oh gosh, what's your favorite thing about me? Anything. Like, what's your favorite part of me? You know, that's a huge question.
It really is.
You can answer it at the end. We'll continue. Okay. So, what keeps you going?
You going is looking forward to just any day I get to spend with you. Be it binging something or discussing anything, just having a good meal together.
We have really good meals and really good discussions.
We do.
I think that's probably one of my favorite things about you and us is our conversations, because we have that, and I think that may have been one of the things that attracted me most to you so quickly was just how easy you are to talk to and how naturally conversations come, and they weren't like shallow conversation, like they were freaking deep conversation, and they just come so easily to us. I feel like we can talk to each other very easily, and I really like that. I think that helps strengthen our relationship.
That's so too. Absolutely. One of my favorite things with you is how for me to discuss anything with you, could convey anything to you, as long as naturally with you that I don't want to have